Broadcasting live from a John Avon forest. This is Tap Tap Concede. Welcome, everybody. I'm Graham.
I'm Cameron.
And I'm Kathleen.
And today we're talking about art. Last episode with Cameron, Alex, and Ben talking about their favorite decks. One of you made a sort of an offhanded quip about, like, man, we could do a whole episode about art.
Yeah.
And I bet we could do more than one. But basically, this episode we're going to talk about magic art. We're going to talk about art that we personally enjoy, sort of, general thoughts on art direction. And
I'm settling in and getting comfy.
Yeah, and as you can see if you're watching the video version, I care deeply about design, and so I'm excited to talk about it.
This is the pizza logo.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
I think they call it the pizza. Yeah, the CBC. This is our national broadcaster. This is their logo from the '70s, which is why it looks rad. What's up, Kathleen? You want to throw this? Because first we're going to do a Crack-A-Pack, but we're going to talk about the art a lot in the Crack-A-Pack.
Sweet.
But before we do that, sorry. First of all, Tap Tap Concede is brought to you by Card Kingdom.
That's right.
Check
it's
out
a kingdom of cards.
Yeah, kingdom of cards. Check out cardkingdom.com/LRR. The /LRR lets them know that we sent you, and that's really helpful to us because that lets Card Kingdom know that this sponsorship is working out well for them. And we work with Card Kingdom because we legit like them a lot. They're where we buy our singles when we're buying them online. They'll ship singles anywhere in the world, and they do it super, super quickly, and their customer service is phenomenal.
Yeah, they're a good, reputable company, and that's why we work with them.
True. And they'll ship sealed product anywhere in the U.S. You can get your pre-orders in. They probably already have pre-orders open for Hour of Devastation. If you tell them, Loading Ready Run sent me, button please, they'll give you a little 1-inch button, and it should be arriving there this week. The current design is going to be a quote from a very salty opponent I encountered once that's, I have 12x removals. So if you too want to have 12 removals, then you can order something from Card Kingdom and let them know that we sent you.
Oh, that's a good button.
I am a big fan of it.
Yeah.
And this podcast, as well as everything, is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. We appreciate you checking that out.
Yeah, way to go.
We're going on a one-on-one-off reprint cycle now for the buttons.
Okay.
So when we run out of the I have 12 times removals, next one I think is a reprint of the Look at the Cards, which I also quite like. All right, now roll that big die, single die. And it's in the hallway, and now we can't see it.
Throw it that far.
It's 20, actually.
Really?
It's the packs.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it just bounced off the chair in the hallway back where I can see
Oh my
it.
God.
It's 20.
You know what that means?
No.
Da da da
Oh, dang.
We just got this.
Yeah.
We just got this very recently.
Oh my God.
Christian,
This is very exciting.
our buddy Christian Imat was in town. His username is Imat. That's not his last name.
Christian might now hold the mantle of the fastest pack donation to actual opening on Tap Tap Concede, because normally it takes months, because if you're watching the vidcast version, you can see there's a big box.
This is, there's only 10, it says 10 additional cards. There's only 10 cards in this pack, but this is a pack of Portal 3 Kingdoms. Christian was one of our Kickstarter executive producers and came back in town to visit recently. And unfortunately, we didn't get to draft his powered cube, but he did drop off some packs to crack, and this was one of them. And is there any lore here? I can't. No, there's nothing fun I can read on the thing, but I'm really excited. So this could either be very, very exciting or a complete dud, and I'm keen to find out which.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are these English?
Yes, these are the English. The English printing.
We're looking for things like Imperial Seal.
Yeah.
And Burning of Jingyi.
And Imperial Recruiter?
Yeah, Imperial Recruiter.
And what's her face?
Oh, Dao-chan.
Dao-chan. Artful Beauty.
All right. First up, Shoe Defender. Oh, wait, is this in the right spot, or did I shift the chair?
Nope, that's fine.
Okay, it's just not. Oh.
There
it
we
is.
are.
Shoe Defender. 2 and a white for a 2/2 soldier. When Shoe Defender blocks, it gets +0/+2 until end of turn.
You know, honestly, I could still see them printing this card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot
pretty
because
amazing.
it's Portal. It has all the iconography for power and toughness.
Confronting Gao Gao's army at what is it?
Steep Slope Bridge.
Ooh.
I thought Portal had like intercept instead of block.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
You know what else it had? It had horsemanship.
Oh, right.
It's the Wu Elite Cavalry. 3 and a blue for a 2/3 with horsemanship. Now,
No reminder text. What does
Yeah.
horsemanship do?
so it actually
doing
acts.
it wrong.
It acts a lot like Shadow, in that creatures with horsemanship can only be blocked by creatures with horsemanship.
It's flying.
Well, it's like flying, but creatures with reach can block creatures with flying. And flying has a lot of there's a
But-
lot of rules
But
around
creatures
it.
with horsemanship can't block anybody. It's
Oh, can they?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like Shadow. All right, so it's like different flying.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's less exciting, but I understand it now.
Return to battle. It's basically Disentomb.
Yeah.
Sorcery. Single black. Return any one creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Swallowing his eye, the valiant Zhao Dun fought on. Oh, right. Because he gets his eye taken out, and he's just like, well, I'm going to eat that and keep fighting.
Kiss. Keep it for later. Put it in a safe place.
Yeah.
It's still inside me.
Yellow Scarves Cavalry. 1 and a red for a 1/1 soldier with horsemanship that can't block.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay, so it can't block,
Hey, turns out
but it
there's...
can only be blocked by creatures with horsemanship.
Turns out even in Portal 3 Kingdoms, there are very bad cards.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm not joking about the first one. I could see them printing that card now, and typically the rule is old spells were better, old creatures were worse. A 2/2 for 3 that gets +2/+0/+2 when it blocks. I see it. It's not a great card.
3 visits.
Oh.
Is 1 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for a forest card, put that forest into play, shuffle your library afterwards. Is this better? This isn't better
This gets play in Highlander.
Oh, I know why. Because unlike Rampant Growth, which is any basic, this is any forest.
Yeah.
So you can go looking for dual lands with
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
Interesting. Intercept was in previous versions of Portal, not this one, because this Trained Cheetah is 2 and a green for a 2/2. When Trained Cheetah attacks and is blocked, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Which is,
That's also fine.
that was an ability. Is that Bushido?
Yeah, that's
That was an ability from, I want to say from Kamigawa, or am I thinking of flanking?
no that.
That's basically Bushido, I think. Oh no,
Yeah.
Bushido was wait. Well, no, that was ninjutsu. Is if it's not blocked, you can return it to your hand and put a different
Yeah.
card and tap
Yeah,
and
no.
attacking.
This also I think there's a couple of different abilities like this. There's also Rampage.
Yeah,
one.
Rampage got the bonus for every additional blocker,
Yeah.
I think.
Right.
It's sort of proto many things. When did P3K come out?
93?
99?
99? Really?
According to this, yeah. Let's
Wow.
see. Well, the game came out in 93, so yep.
This pack's 18 years old.
Yep, sure is.
This is some really nice art on Trained Cheetah. I like the light.
Vengeance. 3 and a white. Sorcery, destroy any one tapped creature. So, sure. Why
Okay.
not?
It's a little expensive.
Hey, we got a legendary creature. It's Zhao Dun the One-Eyed. This is the rare. It's 2 black for a 3/2 with horsemanship. On your turn, before you attack, you may put Zhao Dun into your graveyard to return a black card from your graveyard to your hand.
Oh, this actually seems kind of cool.
Zhao Dun used to be in the Magic Online Cube for a bit, but then wasn't. And then, and then a swamp. Not that swamp, but that's fine. And a mountain.
Oh, right. 10 cards,
Not
2
that
of them
mountain.
land.
Interesting.
I
I like
see
that
that.
mountain, actually.
These lands are both by Chinese artists. That's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, a lot of these are, I think...
The Portal 3 Kingdoms
Yeah.
land is super pretty.
Actually, a lot of
Well, I
the
mean,
artists are Chinese.
the mountain, like I'm looking at the mountain here, and it's a different mountain on the overlay, but it's very much like sort of like the mountains you see in like traditional Chinese art, which makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
I think if the Portal 3 Kingdoms
see the card?
cards
Yeah.
were black border instead of white border, the lands would probably get a lot more play.
Yeah, probably. So how we do value-wise, Paul?
Not too bad. So we got the Trained Cheetah is about looks like about 250.
Sure, that's pretty respectable for a common from
yeah.
P3K.
Well, 250 would be like a near mint, which I guess
I
this
mean,
would
this
probably
is
This is.
literally just came out of the pack.
But
Pack
more
fresh.
interestingly, 3 visits
Yeah.
going for around $55.
Holy crap.
Holy wow!
Yeah,
Wow. Get the sleeve.
More interestingly,
Wait.
Whoa.
Zhao Dun,
Yes.
about $75.
Holy crap.
Crap!
Wow. We should take a trip to our local game store later today.
Sure is
For who?
P3K in here.
Yeah, so that pack, I guess,
Wow.
This is probably our biggest payout
that-
pack ever.
that pack almost paid for itself. I don't know how much P3K packs are going for these days.
Here,
but
put these all over on the shelf. We'll deal
Let's
with
stop
those
getting
later.
our finger oils on
Yeah,
them.
we'll deal with that later today.
Holy moly.
I guess we didn't actually talk about the art from it.
The art is beautiful, but now I don't want to touch the cards.
Yeah.
Those are too valuable to look
I'm
at.
afraid to. Wow, cool. Well, hey, thank you. Thank you, Christian, for that. That was amazing. So yeah, art. I mean, it's actually interesting because when you look at the style of art there, it's consistent across that set, which is relevant. Because one of the things I wanted to talk about is that there's definitely a divide. When I see people discussing magic art online, there's definitely a divide between people who prefer how. I mean, if you wanted to simplify it, how it looks now versus how it used to.
There's much greater consistency per set now.
Exactly, because what they have now that they didn't have way back in the day is a consistent vision and art direction.
And a style guide that people were expected to work to.
Exactly, which means that you get less sort of bizarre, abstract stuff. So there's definitely less like working outside the box a lot of the time. But I mean, I really prefer having a steady creative vision on stuff like this. So I don't know. I guess whenever I see that debate, it always comes across to me as like a sort of a kids these days kind of like, back when I played Magic, you could have, crazy abstract bullshit and it was better then.
And Phil Foglio illustrated some of it.
Yeah, and it's like, yes, you definitely lose a couple individual cards, but overall, the quality and what's being put forward as a whole, I think, benefits from the modern take on magic art, which, by the way, has been happening for years and years and years at this point.
Yeah, we're talking like this started going out with like 8th edition or something like that.
I guess, yeah. I mean, we were doing a Mirrodin flashback draft on Magic Online the other day, and someone, one of our friends, came into chat and was like, "Pick the cute cards," and I was like,
There's none in this set.
This is not a good set for that. Like Mirrodin had very consistent art direction, and it was awful. Like not to say that the art direction was bad or that the art was bad. It's that the art was intentionally like gross.
Yeah.
Like original Mirrodin was all spiky and gnarly and
like people with like metal integrated into their bodies.
Yeah.
Like the Aureok and the
But not,
Volshock.
Yeah, Volshock.
but not
yeah.
in like a pleasant way.
No.
In like a rough, I don't know, metallic kind of jagged way.
Yeah,
right?
like I consider original Mirrodin block artwork like unpleasant to look at, but not because it's inexpertly done, just because it's like nasty. Like what's is it chittering rats? No,
or no,
it's
I know
not
the one
chittering
you're talking
rats.
about.
The rat is awful.
Yeah,
with his
it's like
weird
got long
claws.
claws and teeth.
Oh,
yeah.
it is chittering rats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Like they're definitely going for a harsh and angular kind of. But I mean, like that background today would not pass muster.
Yeah.
That's true, actually. I mean, I guess this is actually an example of maybe not an amazing piece of magic art. It really sticks out to me as really gross and nasty.
Yeah. Although I will say for the original Mirrodin block, the mirror. I thought
The mirror were cute. The mirror were super great.
Who?
The Mana Mirror.
Yeah. Who was the artist?
I don't know, like Iron Mirror. Paul, you want to find that one?
Yeah.
It's like
Because all the same guy did all the mirror.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, it was like the Iron Mirror, Silver Mirror,
Lead mirror.
Gold
mirror.
and whatever the green one was.
Copper.
Copper Mirror, of course. Right, because copper turns green when it oxidizes. Look at
Kev
him.
Walker.
Oh, Kev Walker. He still does a lot of work for Magic.
Yeah.
At least I know that name.
I mean, the new Mirrodin, like the
Scars of Mirrors.
Yeah.
Scars of Mirrodin, And particularly New Phyrexia, of course, had Alloy Mirror. It was adorable.
Look at him. Look at his little alloy mirror.
But like because the 5 mana mirror were reprinted in Scars of Mirrodin with what I thought was not as good art.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I sort of like leapt in at like a high level for this discussion, but we have a couple like sort of specifics we want to talk about.
Can I pick a nit?
Sure.
I'm trying to think of a card that really like trips this for me, but I realize that artists do things digitally nowadays, and I think overall that's really good for artists because it means they can, it's a great medium to work in, allows for greater freedom of expression. But what I don't like is when Magic card art looks very much like a digital painting, right? There's a couple of cards, and now two, I think.
Probably, if I would guess, from Battle for Zendikar block.
There is one that really annoyed me in Khans of Tarkir.
Oh, which one?
I can't remember.
Can you describe?
It was a Jeskai card.
Okay.
Oh, you immediately just made something.
Yeah, it was the one with like the circle and stuff like that. Like it's a really cool piece of art.
Master the Way?
I think it was Master of the Way, but the point, like, it's just
It's Master the Way.
Master the Way.
Was it like the guy descending the staircase?
I think so, yeah. And there was like
With like, he's got like.
Oh yeah, it was a gold card.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a gold card from Khans of Tarkir. And I'm not saying it's bad artwork, but like the problem being that most cards don't look that obviously digital. And like when there's like a lot of like 3D like building going on, like the buildings are all like clearly rendered rather than drawn, it takes me out of it. It's like it doesn't quite look the same from like an artistic perspective, right? Like the buildings are a little bit too clean and a little bit too what's a good word? The
Paul's
buildings
just trying to find that art.
Yeah, the buildings are just like a little bit too like they're not organic enough, whereas the rest of
Right.
the art and the set, like even
Well,
in like
there's an incongruity between like the elements of the art.
yes, exactly, and like it's incongruous to the set because because Magic card is a lot about. No, it wasn't this one, but it was definitely something. This card is totally fine.
Yeah, it's not what I was. Yeah, shoot.
It's not the one I was thinking of. I'll figure it out later. But because Magic card art usually shows like people doing things and battles and stuff like that. It's usually it feels very organic and fluid, and there's a lot of energy in all of the poses and stuff like that. Like you don't often just see somebody sitting around, and even when they do, when somebody like Liliana, like on her Planeswalker card in Amonkhet, she's very like draped and there's stuff going on. And she's dripping with personality, even though she is stationary.
Yeah, it's dramatic.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And when you have like the cards that are very much like I've like computer generated some buildings in the background, like because I need to fill in this scene, like it seems very static compared to the rest of the art.
Yeah, that also.
That's my one nit to pick.
Yeah, no, that's true. I can't think of the cards right now because I sort of I guess ignore them. But the sort of the drawn character and the obviously CG background, I've seen like
The Jeskai cards really annoyed
once
me.
or twice in Magic card art, and yeah, it definitely it reminds me of like some manga does that.
Yeah.
Where they do like the character in 2D, but then they have this weird rendered 3D background, and it looks very.
Masamune Shiro
Does it a lot.
Is just wretched for doing that, and since he started doing that, sure, it looks technically good, but from like an artistic perspective, it just looks awful.
But it doesn't feel at home on a Magic card. The combination of 2D, even if done digitally, the combination of 2D and 3D stuff, it reminds me of Netrunner. Like it doesn't feel at home on a Magic card, which is interesting. But because
The thing is, though, I'm sure there's tons. Sorry, James beat me out. I'm sure there's tons of Magic cards that do that, but do it well, and then you don't notice.
Well, that's the thing. That's
So I just think
one
that's
thing
like
I
a
really
poor
want to.
execution thing.
Yeah, that's one thing I really want to
Not that I could draw that
say
well.
that like gets my hackles up is when people rag on digital art when they're like, well, it should all be done.
Traditionally.
No.
It's like
It's like no. You can do digital art in Photoshop that doesn't look like digital art. It's not the tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I started this by saying I'm not against digital art, and I think it's been very good.
Yeah,
for
but
artists.
some people are because they think that that's the problem.
No.
Right? It's like I have a problem with new magic art, and the problem is because it's all done digitally. And it's like really literally the only problem I have with anyone using digital art is when they do art for a card that's like 2 inches by 1.5 inches. And then Wizards is like, that's cool art. We're going to blow that up and put it on a standee in the background of a GP somewhere.
Or
And
like
then-
make a huge 20-foot long banner out of it.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, now I can see the actual paintbrush shapes. Like I can see the actual Photoshop brush shapes.
But
Now
I mean,
it's a problem.
That's not that's not something the artist.
No, exactly.
intended. The artist is like,
that's
this is
the only issue I have with an artist working digitally. Because if it's meant to be reproduced at card size, then there's zero problem with it.
And that's like 99.5% of cards, right?
Yeah, and I
Like-
mean that's probably also an element of Wizards getting what they pay for, because I imagine for a lot of the like commons, the rate they pay their artists probably influences how much time you put into it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
well-
if you're painting like whatever this set's version of Flying Leap is, right? That's probably a smaller rate than whatever goes onto a Planeswalker.
Yeah.
Right.
It's actually interesting. Do you think that I would like? I feel like the rates for art is probably not based on the rarity of the card.
Probably not.
I mean, obviously,
but
like hero
Like key
shots, like a
art.
planeswalker or something, would certainly go for more.
yeah, it's I don't know.
Yeah.
But my guess would be that they absolutely do not say, this one's not a great common, so don't worry about it this much. But I'm positive that they would go that on the other end of the spectrum,
Yeah.
they'd be like, this is a marquee mythic, and we want to make sure that it's great. Because again, if you're
like
looking
the
at
what are the ones that they watermark with now that they have like the story.
the story
key point-
spotlights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
spotlight cards. Are
Well, yeah,
probably,
like if it's like, here's your brief for this combat trick, and they send back a sketch, and they're like, the sketch looks good, and they do the final art, it's like, sure, this looks great.
Yeah.
Right? Compared to, like, this is the new Liliana for the next set, which also means it needs to be vertical.
Way higher
Yeah.
res.
It's like,
'cause
this is going to get used as, like, a piece of key art. This is going to get blown up. You need to make sure
where,
that you're
like-
hitting the like what the character looks like.
This is the
based on
point in the
previous stuff.
story, so this is things that we want to have you reference in the background of the art.
So yeah, there's
right,
definitely points where I imagine the art director would have to be more granular with stuff. But
And then
I certainly don't.
because they're
yeah,
asking more, you probably get paid more to do that because you're putting a lot more effort into
presumably.
it, right? And,
but I
you
definitely
know,
don't think that you have the other end of the spectrum where they're like, this is just some like unplayable red enchantment, so don't worry about it.
I feel, but like I've heard that Wizards overall actually pays its artists pretty fairly.
Yeah, I
Like,
could definitely see that. Yeah.
Yeah, there have been different opinions on that from artists over the years. I think that it's I don't think it's the pay so much as like the like who retains like ownership and that like what artists are and are not allowed to use the art for. That it's like they can sell prints, but they can't do playmats.
Yeah, I mean, Wizards has
probably
always
because of an agreement Wizards has with Ultra Pro.
Well, exactly.
Wizards has always been quite tight about their copyright and about their their assets and stuff. So I can imagine that could rub some artists the wrong way.
Well, but I mean, from Wizards' perspective, if you have high-res copies of this art going around, it's a lot easier to pirate these cards,
Yeah.
right? Like you can't let high-res copies of this artwork go because that's the part that you really need the high-res copy of.
But on the other hand, they do allow obviously they allow the artists to sell like their originals often.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there's some sort of like Wizards having first refusal on the originals or something, because I know WotC does have some of the originals, but on the other hand, they also do sell originals.
Well, that's why Chris Ron and Noah Bradley I know specifically those two, and I'm sure others have as well, started to move away from digital. That
Right.
Noah Bradley used to work almost entirely digitally, and then moved towards doing oil paintings so that he could sell the originals. Because that's like that's like $3,000-4,000.
Yeah.
it's a good chunk.
Also, I
Yeah.
feel that Noah Bradley has enough of a track record of them being like, "Wow, this is great. Can we use this as large-scale key art?" And probably because I know he's kind of a perfectionist, probably having to go back and touch up, right? So it's like,
Well, like-
do it, do it in oil painting the first time. Then it's always good to blow up.
Well,
right?
I loved watching. I think it was Howard Lyon, doing his time lapse of painting the new Nissa,
Yes.
which was just like. I was showing it to Julie, who has fine arts training, and she was like, "He's he's obviously quite good, but like his confidence, right? Like he just goes up and like he doesn't do the face until the very end, but he just kind of like when he does the face, it's just like and it's done, right? It reminded me of watching like when I would do life drawing, you would watch the older artists, and they would just kind of like you would be like trying to get the shapes right and doing a skeleton and then like capturing the gesture and then trying to like do lighting, and the older artists would just be like and they would have like the sepia toned photograph, right? And you're like, come on,
How?
right in front of me, I'm trying to do this over here and you've got stick figures.
The Nature's Artisan.
It was the other elemental.
No, that's the.
That's the one from the
Steward of
Planeswalker
Elements.
deck. Yeah, that's the one by Howard Leon.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Or no,
Yeah.
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 It's interesting because I'm thinking now when we were talking about sort of the overall consistency, and it's interesting when there's a couple artists that WotC continues to use, which I think is great, by the way, but who have a distinct style that often does not mesh with the rest of the style in a set. And I'm thinking specifically of Therese Nielsen and Kev Walker.
Yeah.
And Kev Walker might actually be better known to some people as like the resident artist for Pathfinder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he does so much stuff for Paizo.
yeah.
and he's
got like a very like angular.
Yeah, it's angular, but what strikes me for Kev Walker's art is the shading, like how he does color and shading. That it's there's
the full of.
there's
Nissa level.
the full Nissa. Wow, that's so good.
So is this when you were watching the process? Was this an oil painting?
Yep.
Wow.
I want to watch that time lapse now. It's
Yeah.
actually there's a lot of artists that do like time lapse or in progress work, stuff that's worth checking out. The new, as a brief aside, the new Ancient Tomb. We were talking about the use of CG in backgrounds, and the Expedition Ancient Tomb. The artist for that, and I don't remember who it was. Might have been Howard Lyon actually, because they had an extensive thing on their blog. But yes,
Howard
it is.
Lyon.
Oh, it is. There we go. Or Leon or whatever. He blocked out the background with all the floating rocks and everything. Blocked it out in CG.
Right.
Or like in 3D to sort of understand like the depth and how the perspective was working,
Right.
but then painted over everything.
Right.
Interesting.
Right, right.
Yeah, so it was like using it as a tool to be like, how does perspective work with things that aren't in reality? Right? Like
Right.
these are things that aren't real. I don't have a frame of reference for it. So how am I gonna
Yeah.
do this? And like
Yeah, it's not
where
like
the
you can get
columns
a-
go and everything. So this is all painted, but it's painted over this like
So is this a digital painting then? Or is he like?
guess this would be then, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
or he
a-
like actually do it in CG and then like.
So just using 3D for the framework for sort of how
Yeah. There's a whole breakdown on his blog about this. It's super interesting. Anyway,
Yeah, well-
if you can bring up anything by Kev Walker, anything recent by Kev Walker, it's interesting because it's something to do with the shading and how he uses color that like really doesn't quite mesh with the rest of it. Actually, I can name one for you if you don't have one. Is it Goblin Rough Rider? It's from Khan's block. It was like a 5/4, a creature has to block it
yeah,
or something.
It's a Mardu colored
Yeah, it's a
one.
Mardu colored.
Right. It's very pink, and she's riding like right at you.
Yeah. It's a orc, I think, riding. Oh no, not Goblin Rough Rider. Sorry, is it Orc Rough Rider?
Mardu Rough Rider.
Mardu Rough Rider.
Maybe.
Somebody riding rough.
Someone's riding rough. Maybe it's not even Rough Rider, but that's the one. Yeah, Mardu Rough Rider. But yeah, I remember that Kev Walker has this like super distinct way that he uses color and shading that like this doesn't look like any other card in the set.
Yeah.
Yet it doesn't like jump out at you as like, whoa, that seems out of place. And I just find that very, very interesting.
Yeah, but it's absolutely like instantly recognizable as Kev Walker.
And not just because his name is at the bottom.
It's the teeth, actually. It's the teeth on the whatever beastie she's riding.
Actually, yeah, that's very Kev Walker. You're right.
Gotta say, that does indeed look like an extremely rough ride.
Yeah, it looks painful.
She's fine with it.
The other, and so yeah, I just think it's interesting that Kev Walker and Therese Nielsen, their stuff does sort of clash so much with the general. If you're looking at sort of like consistency across the set, it's like they stand out as really distinctive and different, but not in a way that is completely like. Not to rag on Phil Folio, because I don't dislike him, but in early Magic sets, you'd be like, "Whoa, that's weird."
Yeah.
Oh, it's Phil Folio.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It just
Like
it seems so.
he's a totally competent artist, but everybody has their own like artistic niche, right?
Well, his
And
stuff
you're
was a
looking-
lot more goofy, also.
Yeah,
it
but
was-
I mean, early Magic cards could be goofy,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, like, Magic sort of definitely pivoted towards the serious high fantasy style of art.
Yeah. Which I mean, I think looks sweet.
Yeah.
Is there some Therese Nielsen art that you...
I mean, there's the new Force of Will.
Yeah, the new Force of Will
That's
is
on the
really strong.
internal
There's
master's
also
box.
What has she done?
Ancestral Journey, or no, what was the one from like M13 where you draw 3 cards, but only if you had 20 or more cards in your graveyard?
Oh, I can't remember.
I don't remember either.
I know the art. It's like the guy crouching and there's
Yeah.
like thought lines or something.
Yeah, which is gorgeous.
But has she done anything that's been in a normal set, or do they actually just sort of save her for special stuff now?
I think they just save her for like
Oh
premiere
wait, no,
cards.
she did Descendants Path, which was
she
in
did. In like,
Innistrad block.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah,
while
yeah,
ago,
yeah.
though.
Oh, that was a very unusual card, like art wise. But I'm gonna talk more in a sec about artists who I think have distinctive styles that I can immediately be like, I know who drew that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to monopolize. Yeah, from Avison Restored Descendants Path. Yeah, this is a
feel like-
particularly weirdly abstract piece of Magic art for a recent set.
Well, I feel, but like at the
I-
beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card that shares a creature type with a creature you control, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Like, that is a weird. How do you even begin to illustrate that ability?
Yeah,
like, that
well,
is.
I thought that's like the cards that I wanted to talk about were all like abilities kind of like that.
I was gonna say, yeah, please.
Like when you were given like the brief for like lightning bolt,
yeah,
right? That it's pretty clear what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Right. Like when you've got like a creature card, right? You show a drawing of that creature, and maybe it's a weird creature, but it's still quite clear what it should be. It should be doing something cool.
yeah.
But then there are cards like in particular I wanted to talk about Memory's Journey.
I knew you were gonna say Memory's
Yeah,
Journey.
because
Oh, from original Innistrad.
Yeah.
which is what jogged me here because I think there might have been some kind of like break after Innistrad, because I remember there being a bunch of these cards with really unusual things happening in them, or very like difficult to illustrate things. And then after Innistrad, I didn't see so many of those. Or they would be like, I think if this card were to be made now, it would have like Nissa.
Yeah, well,
on
I
it,
was actually
right?
just about
or,
to say.
Or Jace.
Yeah,
Doing
like-
something instead of like this person.
Well, I was actually just about to say, I think that what the break is that after I think this block, they started being like, let's tell the story through the cards better. And if we don't necessarily have something specific we want to show, let's
make it a story moment.
Let's make it a story moment and show one of our key characters and tell, because I think even during Innistrad block they still had like the books that you could read and stuff like that. Did they still have?
No, I think Innistrad block had
they had
stories online.
Because Return to Ravnica still had the ebooks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so they sort of were like, let's phase that out and make it like more accessible that you can figure out what happens in the set by reading the cards, playing the games, right? Instead of having to do all this additional research. Because I remember when I first started playing Magic, they didn't do that as well. I wasn't as plugged into the ecosystem, so I'd be like, so how did things turn out?
What happened at the end of that block?
Yeah, what happened to Koth at the end of Scars of Mirrodin? Is he alive? Yeah. Is he dead?
And I remember Rise of the Eldrazi, there was that one card. It was the alternate win condition enchantment for white, where if you end a turn with exactly one life point, you win the game.
Yeah. It was near-death experience.
Near-death experience. And it had Gideon standing on top of like this big Eldrazi that looked like Emrakul.
Yeah.
And I remember for years afterwards, people being like, no, they got Emrakul. It was on that one card. They killed her.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, yeah. Because he's just demolished a whole slew of Eldrazi spawn with his, whatever it's called. Cyril.
Yeah.
Cyril?
Cyril?
What am I saying? Cyril. And then, so this totally looks like he killed Emrakul here, but that's not the case.
Yeah. Turns out you can't just do that.
No.
But
surprise.
Yeah. Anyway, like the cards that I really enjoy are the ones where the artist obviously had to go like, I don't have any idea.
And then maybe the art
this
director
is supposed to look like.
Well, and I think maybe since Innistrad block, there's been less weirdly abstract cards. Like the last couple blocks have been much more focused on these are fast, aggressive, fighty type blocks, right?
Right.
Which means there's going to be less weird enchantments that don't necessarily do anything, right? Like Memory's. What does Memory's Journey do?
Memory's Journey takes 3 cards out of your graveyard and shuffles them back into your library, and it's got flashback. It's actually kind of like a really interesting card.
Right.
That stops you decking yourself.
But it's not. That's the kind of card that goes into a set where it's not like, let us punch the dudes.
Yeah.
Right? Which has been the last 2 sets for sure.
Yeah. I wonder if that's been a directive to R&D. It's like, hey, if you're going to make a card like Memory's Journey, maybe give it a name that suggests what it does, right? Or the way it works in such a way that we can tie it into a thing, right? Because I get what a lightning bolt is. I get what a counterspell is, right? Like you see counterspell art or cancel art where it's usually like a blue mage projecting a force field, right? And a lightning or a fireball skips off the top.
Yeah.
I even to an extent know what it is to brainstorm, right? Because all the brainstorm art is usually some person being like, right, well, lightning bolts blow up behind them. But the other ones, what is Memory's Journey?
Yeah.
Right? What is a card like Mystic Retrieval, which was another card from Innistrad block from Dark Ascension, right? And it's this hand holding a burning book with blue flames. And that was a card that shuffled something from your graveyard, or took something from your graveyard back to your hand.
Yeah.
And Mystic Retrieval, okay. Apparently it's a book on fire, but usually this effect was called Call to Mind, right? And Call to Mind, which now that I think about it was also Therese Nielsen art, was much clearer about what that is, right? You know what it is to call something to mind.
Right.
But
what was the right? Oh, with the puzzle pieces.
Yeah, the puzzle pieces.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's it. I feel like Therese Nielsen is the go-to artist for we have this very abstract thing that we need realized, and you are the best at doing it because that card, despite being a guy with puzzle pieces floating around him and some red mist, which is a very reductive way of describing that artwork, totally works. You're like, I get it.
Yeah.
There's everything from his expression to the way that the pieces are moving, and as you can see he's like, that's exactly what I was looking for, right?
Yeah, yeah.
She's, I think, the queen of doing that.
Speaking of
Which is probably how she got ancestral
abstract stuff,
storyline or whatever that card is.
I don't recall the name of the art. There was a red card from Ether Revolt that was X red red red. It was a rare. I can't remember what it did. but I recall it having more sort of it being one of those cards
Yeah.
where it's like I don't know how to illustrate this, so here we go.
Do you want to just look for it?
I think Paul's looking it up, but I didn't. That wasn't a very useful.
Yeah, because like I put a list of the cards that were kind of like this into Slack.
Yeah, I've got
and-
those.
And like I've said in other podcasts, I think my favorite piece of Magic art is like Master Transmuter from Shards of Alara block, right? Which I think is just a really cool piece of artwork. And it's a creature, and she's an artificer, and she's like transmuting one white ball into one black ball, and it's linked by like this infinity symbol, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
But that's quite clear as to what's going on, right?
Yeah.
You get Transmuter, Master Transmuter, you're like, I know what I should do for this. I've got an idea. But yeah, now that I think about like the other things, I think the ones where it's like quite challenging as to what it should be, and the artist produced something memorable. Yeah, are my favorites. Like the one of the cards that I really liked from way back when was Unfulfilled Desires from Tempest Block,
Right.
which is
Yes, Indomitable Creativity was the card I was thinking of.
right.
Like what is happening on this card?
Sometimes you get something very vague.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's amazing, but
It's a. Actually, I can grab the higher res.
oh, you have the bigger version. So it's like there's like a mage going like casting something. Like wow, look at that.
Look at all that
Okay, yeah.
ether, and
He's
then
tagging.
Oh my God, it is.
Yeah, and he's got like all
That's
the
graffiti.
Yeah, and,
But then the graffiti is doing magical things.
because
yeah,
it's
It's magical
and,
graffiti.
and there's like thopters and all kinds of like artifact creatures in the
Bursting forth from the.
Yeah,
from the ether, the
That's
magical paint he's
amazing,
using.
actually.
yeah,
Indomitable creativity, right? So because it's like, no, you can't put me down, so it's graffiti.
yeah.
Wow.
Neat. Okay.
That's actually, now that I see it blown up, that's way, way cooler.
yeah.
I like his his Kaladesh spray paint can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super fancy.
Sweet. Sorry, Cam, you were talking about Unfulfilled Desires?
Yeah, Unfulfilled Desires, which is from Mirage block. And it's this one blue-black enchantment, or, God, how does it even work?
There it is.
It's
Pay
fine.
one life.
Draw a card, then choose and discard a card.
Right.
Okay, that's fine.
Sure.
But what is going on in this card, right, in this artwork?
I mean, it's not typically artwork we see on a blue-black card because it's primary red, which I don't
Yeah.
think would pass muster nowadays.
but
It looks like someone's dying of probably heat exposure. There's camels
Yeah.
in the background. This is in the desert because, of course, it's Mirage.
Yeah, and one person is cradling this other person as they're
Yeah.
presumably dying against the sunset, right? And the flavor text, I think, might give us some hints, right? Because it is the flavor text for this block. There was a running theme of this poem, like this epic poem.
The love song of night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the final verse of it, right? Like, day from night, I'll live my life apart from you, just glimpsing you across the sky, because you cannot change, my dear, and nor can I. So I guess this is the conclusion.
Oh man,
of it.
I didn't realize the night and day fairy tale
Yeah.
was the overarching theme through the flavor text. You guys have heard that one before, right?
Yeah.
The which one?
Night and day, like night is usually a prince, and day is like a princess, and they're all they
Right,
they can
and they
only
can
meet
never
in
meet.
twilight,
Yeah.
Right.
or when there's an eclipse. Sometimes, depending
like
on the
in-
interpretation.
Yeah.
Like
like
in the
here.
card?
Yeah.
Like in the art?
Yeah.
Ah. That's really cool.
I didn't realize that.
I wasn't
That's-
super paying attention to the lore back when Mirage was out.
Yeah. But like, you know, for this effect, right, you wouldn't necessarily expect to see art like this, right? Like, for an effect where you pay life to draw a card and then discard a card in
Yeah.
blue and black, you can easily quite see it like art where it's like a mage who's like, you know, pulling power from something, and like they're you know, slightly withered looking.
Yeah.
Right, as they learn new things, but at this terrible cost. And this is kind of that, but not at all.
Yeah.
Right? What else did I want to talk about?
Hey,
If
can
I
you
can-
pull up the art for Balefire Adept, Paul, when you have a chance? I think that might be the card that annoyed me.
That sounds, yeah.
I've been thinking about that this whole time. That's probably
Balefire Liege?
Maybe? I don't know.
Is it from Khan's block?
Yeah.
The liege wouldn't be.
No.
No.
Is it?
Well, there was definitely some sort of adept or something like that.
Yeah, no. That.
Adept. There was definitely a Khan's block.
Some sort of Jeskai adept.
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't an adept. I don't know. I've been thinking about this. It's hard because I can't just look at the cards because I'm trying to be...
Yeah, and also now it's like the naming convention for a lot of things is like there's quite like clearly like an XYZ.
Yeah, they've tried
naming convention.
to standardize the naming conventions, which is great because it helps them probably come up with names.
Yeah.
But bad because sometimes it's like, oh, it's the this right.
Yeah.
Instead of like, this that.
Yeah, where in Amonkhet you have like the like the Taw crop Spearmaster
And the Taw crop elite and
then this crop.
Ret crop.
Yeah. And
where's the Ret crop Spearmaster?
Yeah.
Ret crop Spearmaster. There's the Taw crop elite is the bird, but there's also Taw crop Skirmisher, which is the snake or the Naga with the knife.
Yeah.
And then there's Nef crop is I think Boros.
Oh, okay.
Like I think the crops cross color pairs because Taw crop the bird is white, but the Naga is
green.
Is blue.
Is blue.
Right. That's the 2/1 for it's the piker with embalm.
Oh right, yes.
None of this is
relevant, but it just means it's harder to figure out exactly what a card is if you're not super 100% of what it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I want to talk about one of my favorite Magic artists, and it's Raymond Swanland.
He also, I was going to bring it up in the other discussion, but I thought that I'd be kneecapping your plans for the podcast. But he also has a sort of distinct art style that doesn't quite fit with whatever is going on at the time. It's very angular.
It's, I will say, it's softened recently.
Really?
And also, they use him. They now use him in points where it makes sense.
Right.
Like, so one of my favorite Raymond Swanland pieces is Worm Coil Engine, obviously, because it's so good.
I mean, like, I feel like they're just dial that thing you do up to 11 for Scar's block.
Like, I mentioned the Scorpion a couple episodes back, but I mean, Worm Coil Engine, like, it's a worm, it's coiling, it's an artifact.
It looks like a bunch of gears that are coming together, right?
It's got the two snakes, or worms, I guess, the two together, because of course when it dies you get the Death Touch one and the Lifelink one, which he also did the art for the tokens. But like, this is peak Raymond Swanland, right? Like it's everything
like,
is...
look at that background, it's just a bunch of jags.
It's like, it's dark, like his art is generally very dark with what I think is like amazing lighting. He does a lot of lighting from within. Like on the Scorpion, there was a glow from inside the poison sac.
Right.
He's done oozes that glow from within, and then everything's just pointy as hell.
Yeah.
A lot of fire stuff.
Yeah, like the sense of motion and speed and power and weight in this is really great. Right, like you can tell how it's moving, you can tell where it's going.
Yeah.
But you can tell those jaws are like.
Yeah. So I think so. To your point, I think what they've realized is that, like, while I think that Raymond Swanland's art style has become a little less pointy over the years, the art directors have also realized this is Raymond Swanland's style, so we're going to give him art that style would make sense for, so it doesn't leap out of the set, right? Because he's done art for Amonkhet.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one did he do in Amonkhet?
Hazaret's Fervor, pardon me. Fervor? Favor?
Fervor? I can see either, actually. I haven't played a lot of Amonkhet.
I think it's Favor. I actually don't know. But it's when you know that it's Raymond Swanland, you're like, oh, of course. But in the context of Amonkhet, it just looks like that is... It looks like the style is emblematic of what's happening in that card. So it doesn't seem striking, right? Like if you had Raymond Swanland illustrate just like some random, X crop fightman.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So like if you just had him illustrate like a random like 2/1 or something, it might seem out of place with like other random creatures. But with Hazaret's Favor, it's like, oh, okay, this totally makes sense. Like it's definitely him.
Because he's got that light burning from within.
It's like dark. There's light, like very, very dark stuff with like red and like side lighting and stuff is something that he does a lot of. And so this totally looks like Raymond Swanland, but it doesn't like leap out as like, whoa, that seems out of place. Which his stuff has maybe jumped out a little bit in previous ones. I think I'm thinking of Marrow Shards. From I want to say New Phyrexia.
Yeah, New
I think
Phyrexia.
it
It's the one with
like the lady going
Ella
like,
Schnorn.
just being like,
Yeah, it's very like 3D.
I shoot you.
And even though Ella Schnorn is herself super like pointy and angular on her own card, for some reason, on Marrow Shards was like, holy shit, Raymond, right? That was like, wow, that's Raymond Swanland.
Yeah.
like really aggressively, because again, you see like the dark and the lighting and the pointy, right? And this still, I love this art, but it felt a little
Oh,
inconsistent.
that was a common? One damage to each attacking creature for free, possibly?
Yeah. It was never as good as I wanted it to be.
Well, because it didn't have a lot of X1s in that format, so it was...
Yeah.
And if you were
I mean,
on
could
the
you imagine
X1s,
that
you
in
were in white.
Amonkhet, though?
That'd be too good. Well, I mean, they do have Blazing Volley.
Yeah, but that hits both sides, doesn't it?
No, it's just, it's 1 to all of your opponent's creatures. But I've sideboarded it in once, but it's, oh man. Like, look at Marrow Shards. It's so cool. But
it's a particularly pointy version of Elish Norn firing a whole bunch of points.
But
I mean, they're supposed to be shards, so it makes sense. But still,
it's just something about his use of dark and light that made this so distinct from the rest of the set.
I mean, look how we're struggling to identify this one Jeskai card that you guys I know the card.
Yeah.
I can picture it sort of in my mind, but I can't remember what it's called. And you guys kind of have an idea of what it might be too.
Yeah.
I think so.
Cam at least is getting a
Are
glimmer
you sure
of familiarity.
so is it actually is it a gold card? Or is it
It might just
is it just in Jeskai?
I think it's just in Jeskai.
Okay.
I was gonna say, here's in terms of.
But we got this immediately. You're like the one of Elish Norn. We're like, yeah, she's doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's good Magic card art.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when you've got Elish Norn throwing like the Kirby hand,
Yeah.
firing shrapnel at you.
As in terms of pointiness, it's like this is Swanland's interpretation of a minotaur.
Yeah. The Ruinous Minotaur.
Yeah.
This was very early in his Magic career, so it's like peak pointy.
This is original Zendikar.
I originally became familiar with Raymond Swanland because he used to do cover art for Dark Horse's Aliens comics.
Yes.
And if
What a perfect fit for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, and there's one art in particular where it's the alien crawling along this corridor with the spinning the fan backlight behind it, and it's just like
backlit fans.
Yeah, backlit fans.
Yeah.
The alien, it's Raymond Swanland, right?
He's a big fan of things being backlit.
Yeah.
It looks rad.
Yeah.
It's difficult to do well too.
But yeah, I think with Raymond Swanland and now and Therese Nielsen, where they deploy them very specifically on very when they have something that they think suits their style, is a lot better than what they did with Quinton Hoover, where they're like, everyone loves Quinton Hoover, so we should have him, but let's make him do things that aren't Quinton Hoover art.
Yeah.
Like with the in Time Spiral in particular, with the Rebel cards, right? Where if you were told they were Quinton Hoover, you'd be like, oh, they are. That is Quinton Hoover. Not doing Quinton Hoover, right?
Yeah, because Quinton Hoover always did very Mucha-esque.
Or they look
outlines.
like stained glass
Yeah,
windows.
exactly.
Yeah.
And people loved it because that was early Magic art was kind of all over the place, but it was always really distinctive and graphic and eye-catching.
Yeah. Yeah, like things like Vesuvan Doppelganger, right?
Yeah.
Or Hymn to Torak, like his one Hymn to Torak.
Oh, there's Vesuvan Doppelganger. And you're like, oh, yeah, okay, Quinton Hoover. I totally recognize that art.
Now, and I know what you're thinking if you're looking at this and you're not familiar with these cards. It's like this is from pretty early back in the day.
This is from Alpha.
This is from Alpha, right? This is the early 90s, and we just did not have the same kind of artistic stuff that we did now, right? Looks like pencil and marker and airbrush, which is
Yeah.
how you did art back then, because there was no like Photoshop.
Where's the do we have the hymn to Turak?
Yeah.
This guy?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely, I think, airbrushed.
It's very Quinton Hoover's stuff was also, it was much more, I don't mean this as a dig, by the way, it was much more comic book
Yeah.
because of the black outlines. It was much
Yeah.
more
Well,
like,
I think this is inked.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be like a Spawn cape right there.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Yeah. Totally a Spawn cape.
And then can we get like Quinton Hoover not doing Quinton Hoover?
Yeah.
You said they're the
specifically,
rebels from Time Spiral?
Yeah. Children of Corliss, I want to say, were his. And it's a very nice piece.
Oh, Children of Corliss. Right.
Yeah, this was a combo with Grizzlebrand in Legacy for a little while in a deck called Tin Fins.
Yeah, that's Quinton Hoover art. I don't know if we can get it bigger. But
Yeah. But it doesn't, it's not like, oh God,
Yeah.
I was going to say quintessential, and that's made it sound like a pun. It's not like what you associate with Quinton
Yeah.
Hoover.
But
Yeah,
then
it's-
again, when did Time Spiral come out? Like,
Wow. That is very pretty. though.
Again, very comic booky though.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Man, speaking of Spawn capes, whose cape is that? I think
That's his cape.
I think it's the guy on the left.
yeah, because
Yeah.
he's got the big shoulder bits
Oh, yeah, okay.
holding his cape up.
It's quite
The
a
other
cape.
guy's just huddled in for
It's like,
warmth.
Dave, could you keep your cape under control? Nope, it's your cape now too. Deal with it.
What? When did this set come out?
2000. Oh God, 11,
No,
10, 9.
no, for Time Spiral, like 2008 maybe. Digital art though, right? Like the
Is it?
tools are almost certainly at that point.
I don't think this is digital.
But like, well, maybe it's airbrush still, but like
Yeah.
it just seems like there's a much more fine detail. Although they probably had better artistic specs than, you know, it's got to be higher res and it's got to be bigger and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Like for Alpha, they're like, hey, can you draw something? I don't know, 8.5 by 11 is probably okay,
Yeah.
right?
I remember having my mind absolutely blown
God, it almost looks like pencil crayon.
in high
Time
school.
Spirals 2006.
Wow.
6, really?
When when I realized, because I just assumed that like comics, like newspaper comic strips, I assumed that they were that big and they were drawn that big.
Right.
And when I saw someone drawing one that like the strip was like the size of a piece of Bristol board and then gets reduced, I was like, what?
Yeah,
Why? And
Peanuts
it's like,
panels were 5 inches by 5 inches.
yeah, and it's so you can draw more detail and then it looks better when it's reduced. And so
Right.
yeah, when it's like, hey, we need you to draw something 2 inches by 1 inches, right? And you get people painting entire canvases so that it can get reduced and still look amazing, and you lose that detail. But actually, that's a good segue to Noah Bradley that I also wanted to talk about.
No, I was just started thinking about like cameo portraitists from like the 17th century. They would actually
yeah.
paint those tiny things,
Cool.
and they would be. It was usually women that did it because they couldn't, because they weren't professional enough artists, because
Right.
they were women to do like actual portraits, even though they were just as talented as like famous male artists of the day. But they could do cameos, so it was like a business.
Right.
And presumably go blind.
Yeah, usually actually.
So Noah Bradley is definitely known. I feel like he's known for doing land more so than he's known for other stuff. And he's done some amazing land. I think I asked Paul to grab Godless Shrine, the expedition version of Godless Shrine from Battle for Zendikar. It's amazing. I remember when the expeditions were being revealed. I feel like that's a tight crop. But yeah, it's this. It's the one with like the like not frozen. They're turned to stone, kind of
petrified.
Petrified, but not because they get better. But the petrified Eldrazi, there we go. Right, like that is amazing.
Yeah. Also, like
It's
very
a-
different from what you usually think of as a black-white land.
Yeah,
Right? Because
but the colors are there.
yeah.
right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this utterly scans, but it's slightly like from a different angle than a lot of artists would otherwise take this.
What I like about Noah Bradley's art is I think that the reason he does a lot of lands is because a land, often you get a landscape, But Noah Bradley's lands are always very dynamic. And like obviously Zendikar has like magical floating hedrons and stuff like that, which adds to that. But just like everything about how Noah Bradley sort of like implies movement and interest in the land, which I think is really important.
And that actually is a great point that leads me to one of my other favorite pieces of Noah Bradley art, which is his take on giant growth. Because way back, giant growth, you had like the rat that was like it was like just physically a giant rat, and there was one with a mouse that was like actually like in mid like more.
Yeah. That one's like the classic old.
Is this
school.
the Return to Ravnica one?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And this is the art for giant growth, and it's just this shadow. And you have no idea what that creature actually is, but there's just a shadow being cast across the square, and all these people going, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And it's just such a great take on giant growth. And I love the way that the shadows, the head of the shadow is framed in the tile on the ground to make it look like sort of like a halo.
Like, what I like about this is even though it's people like literally standing and gawping, they all have very dynamic poses. Like, I mean, yeah, there's like two women who are basically just like looking up, but like their arms are not just hanging down at their sides, their legs are slightly curved out, and then the people around the periphery are moving even more, right? And how it just all of that serves to focus interest into the center of frame, which is really good.
I actually do like, if you look, seeing this close up, the expressions on people's faces, like they aren't like, Godzilla or whatever, like, right? They just seem to be like, huh.
Like, uh-oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming.
Okay.
I feel like people who live on Ravnica are used to random weird things wandering around, though.
Yeah. All right, somebody call Is It.
Yeah.
And then
What happened?
Well, and then what happens when you call Is another one of Noah Bradley's non-land cards is, again from the same block, is Mizium Mortars.
Ooh, yeah.
Which, again, I love the perspective on it, because you don't see a lot of, like, from below, right? Like this is just not an angle that you typically see. And so yeah, you have this Is It mage standing on this sort of, I guess it's a boiler work or something, standing on some sort of precipice with all these Mizium mortars like firing up around him. And I just think it looks super cool.
I like that too, because if you're talking about, we talked about the there's only so many different ways to draw things. There are a billion red flaming explosion type spells. And so, but I like the idea because this is about mortars. He's illustrating the part of a mortar that's different from the other parts, which is that it first goes up.
The launching.
Yeah, the launching part. If you drew it the other part, it could just be like meteors or whatever.
I love that they're just like taking off into the air, and you can see them like they're spinning, and there's smoke plumes building up underneath them and stuff like that. It's very impressive. You can see that just at the bottom of the back of the painting, there's like smoke starting to billow up, and like if we came back to the scene like 15 seconds later, it would just be like a cloud.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoever these are directed at is in trouble.
And that poor Is It mage would be like...
I hope he has a rebreather or something.
Yeah.
I feel like Is It's his live fast, die young. That's their motto.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't there a thing with like... isn't there a card that sort of mentioned that? There's like a lot of Is It mages that look like...
Yeah, that they're...
They look like crazy old men.
But they're not actually very old. It's just a very stressful, high-risk occupation.
Yeah.
Well, because in the original Ravnica plot, like they're like, what are Is It's? I don't know, kind of like crazy wizards, and somebody had probably been reading the Discworld books, and they're like, great, just draw me the staff of the Unseen University. So it's a bunch of like old guys with white hair and beards being like, meh. Right?
Yeah. And then for Return to Ravnica, they were like, what if that, but also younger? And so you have like younger men and women, but they also have white hair, and they're going,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like Is It Guildmage and was it Sparkcaster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or,
Staticaster.
yeah, Staticaster.
Staticaster. Yeah, would just have like shocks of white hair.
Yeah.
Right. I guess trying to impress Niv Mizzet is dangerous.
Yeah.
Actually, doesn't Staticaster have totally white hair?
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
she does.
That's super cool. Like pure white hair on really young people is. I think
it's very striking.
I think it looks neat.
Hard to maintain, though.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Presumably, in this case, it's not natural, but it's, permanent.
Yeah.
It's the result of several accidental electric shocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was experimentation with permanent hair coloring. We don't know.
Yeah, possibly.
It seems like the Is It version of hair coloring would involve some sort of horrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else to talk about.
I mean, I think we've actually had a very long-ranging and wide-ranging discussion on.
And I think there could be so much more. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like I think there could be a lot more discussion about magic art. Like obviously drilling down into specifics.
What is this pose?
Yeah, I have no idea. What
How
this
are her
pose is.
legs doing that?
Pointing that direction while her torso, her
Oh,
shoulders
wow.
are doing.
Interesting?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a
bit of
very
a-
comic
like-
booky pose,
no,
isn't
like
it?
Bit of an Escher girl.
Her hips and shoulders are actually pointing more or less at the camera, like over maybe
Yeah, but
over
then
our right
how
shoulder.
are her knees doing that?
Yeah. How
Also,
are her...
we've got some perspective problems with the back leg.
Yeah.
The back leg is the same size as the front leg, but it's clearly like just. I don't think that's the way. I mean, they're magical people, so.
Yeah,
I've
but
never
like
looked-
her,
I've
yeah,
never looked closely
her
enough
knees
at
are
this.
pointing in the wrong direction.
Now the question is she jumping or is she like being thrown by whatever the thing she
She's
just did?
definitely jumping.
Yeah.
Nobody is thrown in that kind of pose. It's actually very she has to be jumping because it's a very static pose.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like, yeah, she's in the air, but like she basically, she's pinned.
Yeah.
It's almost like the pose of like a gymnast or a swimmer or something like that. Maybe that was the reference material.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of art, I'm excited to check out the Magic Art Show at GP Vegas. The people behind the classic art tokens, Josh Krause and them, have they crowdfunded it, and it was successful to put on an art show. The crowdfunding was like to pay for the artists and to transport the art, and so it's a art show. I think they have like 100 pieces of original magic art.
Oh, wow.
In like a gallery setting.
Is it stuff you can buy, or is it just for
I don't
appreciation?
know. I actually don't know. Maybe. So that's going to be at GP Vegas. So I'm actually looking forward to checking that out.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
Speaking of GP Vegas, because if my math is correct, you'll be seeing this before that. We, in terms of Loading Ready Run,
I was going
will
to say
be there.
the royal we
By
isn't just you.
We, I don't mean either of these other people. It'd be myself, James, Alex, and Adam. And for a very quick rundown of what we'll be doing there and where you'll be able to hang out and see us, let me give you this right now. Thursday, there's a Chaos Sealed event. These are firing every day at 11:30. And on the Thursday, Adam and Alex are going to be bounty targets in the event, meaning that if you get paired up against them and you beat them, you get bonus prizes. Thursday evening, I'm going to be in the Windmill Slam game show versus members of Magic R&D. There's a team of like content creators and then a team from R&D in a Magic trivia game show. Which will be interesting. That night is the Command Zone party, which should be fun. Friday is the actual limited main event, which myself, James, and Adam are playing in. But again, if you see us around, if you like pass us, if we're not actively playing a game or desperate to get to the bathroom,
or
please,
waiting to get food that you so desperately need between rounds.
please say hi. If you see us walking around, please say hi. Happy to take a picture, sign a playmat, whatever you like. Friday night, we're going to be at the CFB VIP party if you happen to be going to that. Saturday is technically day 2 of the limited GP. Assuming that we don't day 2, all 4 of us be bounty targets in the Chaos Sealed that morning at 11:30. And then we have a Q&A panel, like a Loading Ready Run Q&A panel on Sunday at noon. And then Sunday at, I think, 3, Jeremy from Star City Games, who does Split Second, is running a D&D session with the Plane Shift book for Innistrad.
Oh.
So it's D&D
cool.
set on Innistrad with myself, Wedge from the Manosaurus, the Professor, and Christine Sprankle as the players. And that'll be a couple hours long. And
Do you have to make up your character ahead of time?
yes.
Are you running 5th edition?
Yes.
Run a bard.
Christine's already a bard.
Run a chaos wild magic sorcerer.
I'm a paladin.
Rad.
We need healing.
A Cathar?
Yeah, exactly. I'm a Cathar.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
going to
with
be.
the hat.
Yeah, I'm going to be a member of the Order of St. Traft
Brad.
because most Cathars are.
I guess now, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Many people have asked if that's being streamed or recorded. I'm almost positive it's not being streamed. Jeremy's looking into a way to record it because obviously we would like you to be able to see that, but I don't know if that's happening.
Just a note on that.
Oh, and I'll be vlogging the weekend, so you'll get updates there.
On that magic, the Magic Art Show, which, by the way, you can check out at magicartshow.com.
Good URL.
Because they hit their stretch goal, there also is going to be a team of cosplayers from Moxie MTG.
Oh, yeah.
gonna be
Yeah,
there,
Moxie's
too.
great. And now the cosplay police are here. Oh, good. They didn't see us.
If we're just quiet, maybe they'll leave.
Yeah. Quick, everyone take off your funny hats. Bang, bang, bang. Any funny hats in here? No, officer.
Also, in particular, one of the pieces of art that they've said they're going to be showing is that Nissa that we talked about at the very beginning.
Oh, great.
Oh, okay.
That's wonderful.
So you can see it in person if you're going to GP Vegas.
Yeah, I think a lot of these pieces are from private collections. So I don't know. Maybe some of them will be for sale. I guess actually, if they're from the artist, that seems like it would be a good place to do that.
Sell it, make money, and then you don't have to worry about transporting it back.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in going to GP Vegas, it's what a limited GP,
It's a
legacy GP.
Legacy GP, limited GP, modern GP.
Wow.
Legacy will be interesting.
3
to watch.
GPs in one weekend.
Well, weekend. It's like starts on Wednesday.
Yeah. 3 GPs in one.
So Graham will be there.
Yeah.
So say hi. If you want to see Cameron or me, no.
Yeah. We'll be here.
We'll be here. You don't get to.
Continuing to stream.
You can say hi on Twitter or
Yeah.
or stream or
Yeah, absolutely.
through the power of the internet. All
Through
right.
the power of friendship.
That's going to do it for, sorry about that, Tap Tap Concede for this week. As a reminder, brought to you by cardkingdom.com. Check out cardkingdom.com/LRR. And this show and everything else we do is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. You let us know what your favorite Magic card art is in the comments below. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.